So I haven't lied on this front page. I think this genuinely will be the most important video you've ever watched so far, particularly if you're anything like me and you've wasted years watching absolute garbage on social media. So discovering your purpose. I couldn't find a picture, so I just chucked this here. Here's what we're going to talk about in this video, and there's basically 4 sections to it. So we're going to talk about what is purpose and why is it important, why most people are purposeless, discovering your purpose and working on your purpose. If you don't already know, purpose is one of the most important things in life. It's not taught at all in school, and I think it's one of the biggest reasons behind people, being more depressed than ever and more, burning out. Just a lot of the bad mental health side of things I think that we have in society today is directly to do with purpose. And I think once you understand that you have purpose and you can begin to work on it, it'll 10x your life minimum. So if you don't know already, my name is Ethan. I make videos that greatly improve people's lives. If you like that, hit the subscribe button. But let's go. So first of all, what is purpose? Purpose is the task you're supposed to work on, and that sounds a little bit vague, so I will give you any. Why is this not moving? Why does this never move when I need to? So an example, which is my purpose, is to improve people's lives, and we'll discuss how to find your purpose later on. But basically, purpose is just the thing that you are supposed to do in your life, the thing you're supposed to work on. It could be altruistic, like helping other people. It could be to do with family. It could be a number of different things, and we'll talk about that more when we talk about how to actually discover your purpose. But you'll find that when you're working on one specific thing, it'll put you in a flow state and also fulfill you. So for some people, they're in a flow state when they are helping people or teaching stuff or making videos or maybe doing something athletic or maybe doing something to help people, or it could be any number of things that puts them into this flow state where they're not thinking about anything else, they're only thinking about what they're doing and they feel truly fulfilled. So some people would say purpose is, God-given or spiritual. It could be just innate in your psychology. It's completely up to you what you want to believe. Personally, I'm not religious, but I still like to believe that purpose is spiritual or God-given, even though I'm not personally religious, because it just comforts me, that feeling. It really doesn't matter where you feel it comes from, as long as you do feel that you have a purpose. You can believe it comes from literally anywhere. That's absolutely fine. The problem with the thing that happens when you lose purpose without purpose is that people indulge in what's called instant gratification. So instant gratification, you probably already know if you've watched a few of my videos. If you haven't, hit the subscribe button. But instant gratification is basically habits that are pleasurable now, but they're not particularly good for you. So the number one example I always think of is junk food. You could say social media consumption as well. Anything that is going to give you like a dopamine high, a boost, but it's not good for you and you'll feel bad later on, is probably instant gratification. The reason I bring this up is because without purpose, without something to work towards, people indulge in instant gratification. If you think about it, you can either do stuff that's going to make you feel good now, but it's not really productive at all, or you can actually be productive and do things that might not necessarily feel good now, like exercise, for example, but they're going to give you a long-term benefit. And what happens when you have no long-term goal to work towards, there's really no point in delaying anything, because you just aren't working towards anything. You're not trying to achieve anything. And so what happens is you indulge in instant gratification, and you've probably seen this with a lot of people. You've probably even done this yourself. Whenever you're in a bad mood or you feel hopeless or purposeless, you generally indulge in all of these things that I've mentioned before. And any other example, you can probably think of numerous examples of instant gratification. And whenever you think of someone who's completely lost in life and maybe depressed as well, they generally do a lot of these instant gratification habits that supposedly make you feel good in the moment, but they don't even work anymore because they've done them so much that they don't even get a boost anymore. And this doesn't help you find your purpose at all. It just leads you further away from the path you're supposed to be on. There's a quote I've heard by Friedrich Nietzsche. I'm probably saying his name wrong. I think I'm close though. Where under peaceful conditions, the warlike man attacks himself. I think this is definitely true, but it also applies it to some extent to, I think, everyone, men, women, whether you're particularly, hell-bent on a very strong purpose, or maybe your purpose is, to raise a family or something like that. I do think when people are purposeless, they generally do self-destructive things to try and make themselves feel good, because they have absolutely nothing to work towards or to live for. And yeah, I think this is especially true for perhaps people who have very, very strong purposes, like, I don't know, being the prime minister of a country. When you're not working on that purpose, you'll start to do self-destructive things. So I do like this quote. And finally, I will say, don't live your life achieving nothing. Everyone should be working on a big goal. You only get one life. There's absolutely no excuse for doing nothing. And if you don't work towards a purpose, you're going to pay the price for it every single day by not feeling 100% fulfilled. So that's a little bit about what purpose is. I hope that convinces you that it's extremely important, and if you don't have a purpose, you need to find it straight away. Now I'm going to talk about why most people are purposeless, and this isn't me flogging a dead horse, because the reason I'm talking about why most people are purposeless is, one, to address a societal problem, and two, to hopefully give you a bit of clarity before we talk about finding your purpose on why you yourself might not have found your purpose yet and why you're feeling purpose. And I hope this section can be very relatable, because it's certainly relatable for me when I was writing it out. So here's the thing. Most people are more purposeless than ever, and by that I mean there's just more people with absolutely no purpose doing self-destructive things, feeling, we know there's high rates of depression and burnout. I believe Gen Z, when surveyed, has the highest rate of burnout, and they're willing to work the least. So I think Gen Z said on average they were burning out around 25 hours of work a week, which we know is a lot less than a full-time working week, and it's been going down generation by generation. There's a bunch of reasons for that, but I think purposelessness is one reason. So we know this is a societal problem. It's pretty obvious. I think a few things to address is that purpose is not taught in school, in Western society, or by people's parents. And when I say that, a lot of you are thinking, well, yeah, I probably agree with that, but also it's never been taught in school, so why is it such a problem now? I'll address that in a second, but just before we move on from school, I think the fact that purpose is not taught in school is one of the greatest failures of the education system to date. I think school should exist to set you up to live the best life possible, which means it needs to teach the most important things possible. And the fact that it doesn't teach purpose or really even health that well, I would say it doesn't teach health at all. I guess technically it does a little bit, but I'm not even counting that because of how bad it is. But it certainly doesn't really teach purpose at all. I can't remember being taught purpose ever in my 13 years of being in the school system, 14 if you include kindergarten. So it's not taught at all in school. That's a huge injustice that needs to be addressed. It's not taught in Western society. Your parents likely didn't teach you to follow your purpose. Like, I guess it's kind of a thing to say to follow your dreams, but I don't think most people's parents probably never really sat down with them to talk about what they think their purpose is and how they can work on that. It was more, get a job, and not really without really any concern. And that's not to disrespect anyone's parents or anything. I just think it's because nobody really talks about purpose enough. It's just so easy for people not to talk about it, because a lot of people's parents probably aren't even following their own purposes themselves. So that's a little bit about purpose not being taught at all. And I think most people, once I've said that, will agree with me. The reason this is such an issue now, even though decades ago purpose was not taught in school either decades ago, is because purpose was largely constrained to your upbringing. So if you think about someone who maybe 100 or 200 years ago was raised on a farm, they didn't have all of these options outside of the farm. A lot of things were just off the table, and they weren't even aware that they were opportunities. And so their brain found a purpose for them, or you could say their spirit or God or whatever you want to call it, found a purpose for them within the sphere of their life. And because that sphere was much smaller than it is now, there was way less purposeless people, simply because they had easy access to a purpose. If you worked on a farm, your purpose was probably to maybe have kids and maybe get the farm bigger, maybe definitely provide for your family, and to just, continue the family legacy. That would have been your purpose, because the sphere of things you could possibly do was very small. Nowadays, the sphere could not be any bigger. Kids from probably a single-digit age these days have access to phones and social media, and they can see all of these things that people are doing around every corner of the planet. There's more opportunities than ever, and this is a good thing. I'm all for opportunities, but the bad thing is that when there's so many options and then purpose isn't taught in school to match that, what actually happens is people are exposed to many, many different things that they could possibly do, and they're not taught how to pursue them. So if we go back to this, farm metaphor back in the day, you had limited options for what you could do, and that was absolutely fine. People weren't as depressed back then as they were. If a lot of people who were raised on a farm probably wanted to work on the farm, and that's cool. But you were given these limited options, and then you were taught how to pursue them. If you were raised on a farm, you were taught how to do all the farm things, and so you were given the skills to pursue that exact purpose. Do you see what I mean? When you had these limited options, you basically could acquire the skills for them. The problem with unlimited options now is that we kind of need to raise the bar for how we're teaching people to pursue purpose, because there's so many more options. In the world of today, where there's so many options to pursue so many things, and there's the level that we're teaching how to pursue purpose hasn't gone up at all to match. That is the problem, that the fact that there's this juxtaposition between how people are taught to pursue their purpose and the sheer volume of different things they can pursue. And one more thing I will say is purposefulness equals options divided by agency. So if you have a very large number of options divided by little agency, you have very high purposeful, what have I written? I've written purposefulness. I think I meant to write purposelessness. So if you have a lot of options divided by very little agency, you have very high, I'm going to change that just because it's driving me insane. If you have a lot of options for different things you can choose, like we do nowadays, and you're not really taught to pursue purpose or anything like that, that's a big number divided by a small number that equals very high purposelessness. If you think back in the day where there were few options and you were taught very high agency to pursue all of them, you would have had low purposelessness, which means high purpose, basically. Sorry, that was overly confusing. I won't go into that anymore, but I think I've made my point clear, which is that the sheer juxtaposition between the amount of options people have, plus, high rates of mental health issues, plus we haven't raised the bar for teaching about purpose, which is an extremely important thing, results in very high purposelessness among a lot of people. And another thing I will say on this is the caveman mindset. If you're wondering why being exposed to so many different options and things on social media creates a sense of purposelessness, it's because I think you can't really, as advanced as we are as a species, you can't just eliminate thousands of years of evolution in human history. And I think everyone, you'd probably all agree if I said a fundamental need for, to survive throughout basically all of human history, there was a fundamental need for success and for status. If you were absolutely terrible in a caveman, group at anything you did, you had no real, you didn't contribute in any way, and you were low status, you weren't well liked. That would mean when someone had to be thrown to like the wild animals or someone had to be left behind or anything, it would mean a death sentence. And the people that have survived to, pass their genetics down through natural selection are the people that were the most concerned about success and status, because then what they did was pursue these things and ensure that they were actually successful. So every single person who cares about success and status, that is because your ancestors cared, and as a result they survived. So you have these instincts where when you see people achieving very, very high success constantly from a very young age, every single day, multiple hours a day, as people do from their pocket, and by from their pocket I mean on their phones, on social media, what it creates is this feeling of inadequacy. And I think a lot of people see, enormous success around themselves, and they're not taught any skills to pursue anything like that. And that creates a feeling of purposelessness and frustration. So, yep. And the final thing I will say, sorry, I think I already said the final thing, but this is the actual final thing on this slide, is comfort is, there's more comfort than ever, and what that means is it's easy to avoid your purpose. So if you had absolutely nothing comfortable at all, and the only kind of release was working on your purpose and one day escaping, whatever hell you live in, you'd make a lot more progress. But I think because people are constantly surrounded by comfort, even when they have their purpose, even for me, for example, I still, I ate a little bit of chocolate last night when I probably shouldn't have, and it didn't make me feel good, as just a random example. Just because comfort is so easily accessible, it's very easy to be distracted by it, even when you have a clear purpose to work on. And what that does is it makes people's lives even harder. So that's the first two steps out of the way. I'm going to get a drink of water. The third thing, and this is where we start to get into the really important part of this video, is discovering your purpose. So hopefully you've watched so far and you've agreed with basically everything I've said, and it's opened your eyes and opened your mind a lot to why purpose is so important. And if you're watching to this point and you actually, you want to pursue your purpose and you agree that once you get onto your purpose, your life will be so much better, good. That's exactly how I would want you to be at this point in this video. So let's talk about purpose. Purpose comes in layers, and what I mean by that is that you don't just have one core purpose that you just one day find and you pursue it and you complete it. That's not really how purpose works. What you have is different layers to a purpose. We could say different missions, where over time you will pursue one layer and complete it, and then you'll move to the next layer and complete it until you get closer and closer to what you might call your life's core purpose and the thing you're supposed to do. But you won't actually, don't think of it like a completion thing where you'll reach your core purpose and then you're done, you've maxed out your purpose. It's kind of like you just continually work on things over time. I'm nowhere near my core purpose at all, and it's very difficult to explain when you can't really say what the end goal is, but you kind of pursue each layer over time. So as a random example, your current layer of purpose or your current mission might be to get insanely healthy, like to start exercising a lot, to research nutrition and diet and get everything locked in and become a really, really healthy, switched on person. And then once you've got to that level where you feel satisfied, your next level might be to start writing a book on health or something like that, because you feel it is your purpose to educate people on health and that kind of thing. So that's an example of different levels. We could be here forever. My level at the moment is, posting videos to try and just, actually, I'll start with my previous level. My previous level that I've been working on, or few levels for the past few years. I'll just talk about myself for like 1 minute, because I think me explaining where I'm at in life and my purpose is probably going to be really useful for you to hear, and you'd probably be interested to hear it as well. Or you can skip forward a minute, I don't care. But my purpose for the last few years, it started off with self-improvement. I think a lot of people don't even try to improve themselves. They're completely, the idea of becoming better in many different, areas of your life is something that I think most people don't even pursue. So I started seeing content on the internet of people improving their lives and, doing amazing things. And so I started going to the gym, which I think is a place a lot of people start in, particularly guys. And, I got stronger and fitter and healthier, and I looked better. And then I worked on other things and started learning languages, because that always interested me. And I wanted to be the person, if you're watching this, you probably have watched my language learning videos on my channel. I always wanted to be the person that could speak a few languages, and I made an enormous amount of progress in that, which I find really fulfilling. And then I'm constantly learning things as well. I got like how many books yesterday? 3, and I've ordered probably like 10 this entire month. So I've been reading and learning, and then now I think my level of purpose is to try and help people improve their lives, basically. I'm not 100% sure where I'm going with it yet, but I think we're going in the right direction at the moment, which is I'm going to start making better and better videos. This is just a temporary thing, by the way. We'll get back to the high quality edited videos soon. I'm getting one edited right now, but my purpose at the moment is, I think, to grow this YouTube channel, to grow on an absolutely enormous following. I'm not going to be content until we get to millions of subscribers and millions of people watching these videos, and I want to help people improve their lives. And then hopefully I can turn this into, not to make it about money or anything, but I'm completely transparent in everything I do. Hopefully I can turn this into my job, where I don't have to work the job I currently work, which is just like not a particularly interesting job, just a job that a young person might have. And hopefully this can be my job, where I can commit, 24 hours a day, I thought I said 24 days a day for a second, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to helping people and improving people's lives. And that would fulfill me, and then we'll go from there. Maybe one day I will go into government and help people in that way. So that's an example of how purpose kind of exists in layers. But that's enough about me. The number one thing I want you to remember is not to obsess over your core purpose and what you're meant to be doing way down the line, and then give up because of perfectionism. I see this happen with a lot of people, where they don't know what they want to achieve in their life, so they beat themselves up. And then what happens when they make themselves feel bad is they go back to what we were talking about before and indulge in instant gratification. There it is. So yeah, don't beat yourself up over not knowing what you're supposed to do, way down the track for your life. Just find the next layer of your purpose and work on it. And the next layer, that's what TNL stands for, if you're wondering, is something that you can obsess over. So we're not talking about you obsessing over something and not being able to figure out what your core purpose is. We're talking about the next layer of your purpose should be something that you can do right now, and something you can get absolutely obsessed over, in that it brings you joy. You love doing it for hours a day. It's more fulfilling than doing any kind of instant gratification, comfort bullshit, and it puts you into a flow state. A flow state, if you don't know, is where you're doing something. I think I already talked about this, but just to be quick, a flow state is when you're doing something and you have absolutely no thoughts in your mind. You're not getting distracted by anything. You feel completely full, fulfilled doing it, and when you're finished doing it, you feel very happy and satisfied. It doesn't drain you of energy, and afterwards you feel like, thank God that's over, I need to take a holiday. It actually peps you up and makes you feel good. So for a lot of people, this is getting into the gym for the first time. They feel absolutely great. When they're finished their workout and they have their shower and eat their food, they want to go back again. When they're not exercising, they want to learn about the gym, etc. And this could be the case for a bunch of other things. It could be the case for language learning. It could be the case for working on a business. It could be the case for literally anything that could be purposeful for you. So what you're going to do, and we'll talk about in a second the actionable step for discovering your purpose, but a few more things on the next layer of your purpose, just to kind of help you identify it. It's something you've probably fantasized about before. It's not going to be something you've never ever thought about before until this point. So if you've, like, if, say, the next layer of your purpose is to get insanely healthy and to start going to the gym, you've definitely thought about that before. You've thought about what it would be like to be in fantastic shape, to be extremely athletic, to be very healthy, to be the guy or the girl who can help people when they ask questions about the gym. You know all the muscles and all the answers and that kind of thing. As a random example, you might have fantasized about that, and so that could be an indicator of that's the next layer of your purpose. If it's anything else, you probably have thought about that. Everyone's probably thought about, the same few things, whether it's, being healthy, looking great, helping people, making money, working on a long-term project like writing a book, learning a really cool skill, etc. There's like, a gazillion different things I could think about that you would probably have thought about, and one of those things might be the next layer of your purpose. And then I already said working on it fills you rather than drains you. You can also attack it through various ways. So going back to that gym analogy, obviously the number one way you would work on that purpose of getting in fantastic shape and being healthier is doing the exercise, but you can also research how to do the exercise. You can train other people, which might bring you some fulfillment as well. You can buy books on it. You can, start meal prepping. You can learn new skills. You can buy the supplements. There's many different ways. You can keep a journaling about how you're making progress over time. There's like a bunch of different ways you can attack that purpose. Do you know what I mean? And so when you do have the next layer of your purpose, you'll find you not only enjoy doing the key tasks, but you also enjoy thinking about it and watching content about it and actually attacking it in many different ways. And all of these ways bring you fulfillment. Like, I know for some people, the next layer of their purpose is, for example, to get social skills. Maybe they're really bad with social skills. And so what they do is they, start going to things, they start going out to the shops more. And then once that's like the main thing where they might be talking to random people and making themselves talk to every single person they walk past, but they also enjoy watching content on it. They also enjoy reading. They enjoy journaling about it and thinking about things they did. They like setting goals. They want to go out and buy maybe some more clothes, which, it's not 100% on point, but if that makes them want to wear those clothes and go talk to people more, then that could be an advantage as well. You get the point. Like, they want to attack it in various different ways. And the final thing I will say before we move on to the actionable step is when you discover your purpose, you'll find that it becomes the default task without distraction. So if you take away all the distractions, all the instant gratification, all the comfort, you'll find it's extremely easy for you to just do this default task. It's kind of what you want to default to without anything else. So for me, when I've taken away all of the rubbish, which I sometimes do more than I would like, I find I default to thinking about this and to helping people and to that kind of thing, and to sometimes getting angry and not like emotional, but like thinking about stuff that I don't like about the world and how I could fix it and what I would do if I was, Prime Minister or anything like that. These are the things I default to thinking about and that I get distracted by. And so that's how I know that this is actually my key purpose to be working on, to be helping people and then to improve my skills as a teacher and a content creator to actually help more people. So that's a few things on discovering your purpose. Let's go to the actionable step. So what I want you to do, if you can, you don't have to do it right now, grab a pen and paper, but I would highly recommend you do it with me and pause the video. That would probably be the best thing. We're going to do a character design of who you want to be, and I'm going to do it on screen, so I might have to go out of this. I'm going to have to be drawing on here. But basically, you're going to grab a pen and paper and we're going to design the character of who you want to be one day in your life. And this is going to give you an indication of what the next layer of your purpose is. So we're going to write out a bunch of the things you want to achieve and want to do just based on your raw desires, and this will help us understand, okay, what is the next thing you should be working on. So I've just drawn a random dude. You can draw a person in the middle of the paper. I don't have a stylus, so I'm drawing this on a mouse pad, so sorry if it's a little bit wonky, but you're literally going to draw a person and then we're going to write things that you might want to achieve. So I know for me, let's get a text box real quick. Actually, I can copy paste this, can't I? Oh, excuse me. So an example of something I might want to achieve. I've actually already done this in a physical book, but I don't have it with me right now, so we're going to wing it. Font size 25. I didn't think this through. This isn't looking great, is it? Okay. So an example of something I want to achieve in the near future is I want to live in a foreign country. I'm thinking Thailand at the moment, so I'm going to write Thailand. If you don't know, it's very cheap to live in Thailand at the moment. It's like, I work in Australian currency. I think it's like you can live there for less than 2,000 a month. For the US dollars, it's probably even less than that. So if I can, get this off the ground, then I would love to go live there and to make videos there, and I think that'd be great. For me, another thing I might be working on, I'm not going to draw any more lines because it's too time consuming, is to get in fantastic shape. At the end of the year, I want to get down to, I think, about probably 10% body fat. Just things like this. Write out things you actually enjoy. I can't write them very fast. This is really time consuming, but things that you might write down about who you want to be is, you know, what job do you want to have? Do you want to be owning your own business? Do you want to be working? Do you want to be highly qualified, like, for example, a doctor or a lawyer? Is your job not necessarily that important for you and your purpose lies outside, maybe to do something charitable? Do you enjoy helping people? Do you want to travel? Do you want to live in another country? You know, what physical state do you want to be in? Do you want to be athletic? What sports do you want to be good at? I think everyone has some kind of athletic side to them. It's different for everyone. Maybe you want to be, you know, you want to have been going to the gym for years. Maybe you want to be really good at like long distance running. Think about the athletic side of what you want to achieve. Think about where your money is going to be coming from. Think about the skills you might have. Even if the skills are, you know, completely unrelated to your purpose, you'd actually be surprised as to where they come from. I didn't think learning a language had anything whatsoever to do with my purpose, and then I realized, oh, I actually really like teaching about it and helping people, and now I'm actually really good at learning new things and remembering stuff because I've just trained my brain to do that, where most people have fried their brain with TikTok and that kind of thing. And then you can also think about things that you hate. What are things that you absolutely hate? Do you hate the idea that people smoke, for example? Do you hate drinking culture? Do you hate social media? Do you hate, you know, the lack of, I guess, you know, parental controls or safety controls for kids on the internet these days? Do you, you know, want to protect the environment? What do you absolutely hate at the moment that annoys you? Just make this an emotional thing. What are the things you want to, these are the things you should be writing down. What are the things you want to achieve? Where do you want to live? What do you want to look like? What do you want to be good at? What do you want to have? What problems do you want to work on? What do you hate about the world? What do you love about the world? And what do you like doing? Just write all of these things down and design the character of who you want to be. Maybe you can even take after, you know, fictional characters you like. Maybe you want to be, you know, I had a complete mind blank for a second. Maybe you want to be in, you know, fantastic shape like some superhero. Maybe you want to be good at fighting. Just think of things that you actually like and write it down. Nobody has to look at this. So just design the person who you want to be. Do this with me right now, even though I'm not doing it. And once you've done that, you can move on to the video. I'm going to keep going. You're more than welcome to pause it and take your time doing that because I think that's a super wholesome thing to do. So now that we can continue on, if this actually works, there we go. So that's step 3, discovering your purpose. If you're still watching the video at this point, hopefully you've at least done some character profiling. If you've done it, you don't have to have found the next layer of your purpose yet. You can just have a rough idea and we can move on. But for some of you, you will have done that and thought, okay, I've kind of figured out the next layer of my purpose. The next layer of my purpose is to get this job or to start, you know, posting YouTube videos, or maybe it's to start, for example, getting in fantastic shape or pursuing this sport or signing up for, you know, a fight, for example, and start training for that. It could be any number of things. So now that we've kind of got a rough idea of where you are purpose-wise, the number one tip I'm going to give you is to absolutely obsess over your purpose. You agree with me, right, that the vices and distractions of, you know, junk food, social media, video games, etc., all of these things don't actually make you feel good. Like you'll notice this from now on especially. But when you do these things, they don't actually make you feel good. You kind of feel bad afterwards because you feel like you're cheating on your purpose, which is the truth, and that's a good thing. It means your body has kind of a spiritual compass that's trying to point you in the right direction, and when you're going in the wrong direction, it makes you feel bad. Just like how you feel physical pain when you hurt yourself and that's bad for you, you feel spiritual pain when you're not pursuing your purpose because your body knows that you're supposed to be pursuing this thing, and so you feel kind of depressed and down a little bit. Depressed is not the right word, but you know what I mean. You feel down because you're not pursuing your purpose. So that's the first thing I'll say, to eliminate as many vices and distractions. And this will take discipline. Even though you're starting to work on your purpose, you will still feel the craving for the old habits that the old you used to want to do. And that's completely normal. Don't worry about that at all. But you're going to have to use discipline to resist these things and do your best to accept the identity of this new character you've written out. Whenever you feel the urge to do something you know is really bad for you, maybe you feel the urge to drink alcohol, for example. And I'm not one of these people that's going to say, oh, drinking a little bit's fine for you. It's absolutely terrible for you. If you want to drink a little bit, fine. I'm not going to say you can't, but I'm just going to be honest. It's terrible for your health. No other animal does it. It's absolutely one of the worst things you could do for yourself. And maybe you feel the urge to do that, even though you know you shouldn't be doing it, because you're supposed to keep your brain and your body in peak condition so you can be working on your purpose. And you're going to feel the urge to do it. You just need to use discipline and say, no, the character that I've designed, the person I want to be, doesn't drink it. They don't give in to the vices when they, feel the urge to do it. And so I'm not going to do it either. And over time, the more and more you do that, the more you'll stack wins, and you'll find it's easier and easier to not give in to these things when you feel like it. So that's the first part of working on your purpose. The next thing I'll say is if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. I actually have absolutely no idea who came up with that quote, but it's a really good quote, and I think we've all heard it, so I'm going to put it in this video. If you do absolutely nothing, like, plan-wise, like, you know what I mean, like planning what you're going to do to work towards this next layer of your purpose, it's going to be so much harder for you to do stuff. And I would recommend, as soon as you discover the next layer of your purpose, to not, procrastinate and plan and all that stuff, just to do something on it, so you've at least done something. For a lot of people, if the next stage of their purpose is the gym, as I've used before as an example, they put it off for weeks and they, watch a bunch of videos on it and how to do all the exercises properly, and it's like you've never even gone to the gym yet. Like, don't worry about that, just go to the gym once. But once you have, started working on your purpose and you've, been to the gym once, or you've done the first step of whatever you need to do, then it's perfectly okay to actually start to plan how you're going to do this. Don't ever let planning get in the way. Planning is supposed to supplement your progress and to boost you along. It should never get in the way of you making progress. So if you're like, watching videos or planning to do stuff, researching the thing you're supposed to be working on, and you find that's, giving you anxiety and stopping you from working on it, stop planning for a second and just go do raw action on the thing. Instead of, trying to find the right type of running shoes so you don't hurt your knees and getting worried about that, just go for a run barefoot. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, just work on your purpose, do raw action. And then once you've squashed those feelings and you've actually started to do stuff, then it's perfectly okay for you to start, like, researching. But I'll get to the point of this part, which is, don't just have absolutely no plan ever. So what you should be wanting to do is to write out some goals and actually figure out what you can do to get to this achieve this next layer of your purpose. So if the next layer of your purpose is my next layer of my purpose, which is to make videos, the first thing I should do is make one video, which I've already done. I shouldn't be sitting here, writing out, oh, these are all the 15 videos I'm going to make, and this is all the equipment, blah, 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 and putting it off for weeks. The best thing that I could do is just make a video and then go from there and figure out, okay, what can I change? What can I do to improve the quality of these videos and maybe get more people to want to watch them and to help more people, that kind of thing. So that would be the next thing for me to do. What I'd recommend you do is reflect constantly. So once you've been doing stuff on your purpose, which you should be doing straight away after this video, you should be reflecting on it. So what I'd recommend is to journal every single night, or at least once a week, but I journal once a week and then also whenever I feel like it. So it's generally a few times a week. But if you're, hopefully you guys can hear me still. There we go, all good. Sorry, just making sure my microphone's... 1 second, hold on. My microphone's fallen off. There we go. Hopefully the sound quality hasn't cut out there. At all, should still be able to hear me. Okay, cool. I got worried for a second because I thought I'd been talking and just be a complete waste of time, but oh well, things happen. So, reflection is key. That's where we were, I think. You should be trying to journal most nights on your purpose and what you can do to make more progress in your purpose, what you might be doing wrong, etc. So say the next layer of your purpose is to... what's an example? I'm trying to think of an example I haven't used yet. Say the next layer of your purpose is to start working on a certain charity to help people. That could be the next layer of your purpose. Rather than, beat around the bush and kind of plan what you're supposed to be doing, you'd be much better off just going online, finding what charities already exist, seeing what interests you, what you can join, and then sending them an email immediately, rather than wasting tons of time doing that. But once you've done that, for example, you can start journaling, okay, what are the things I want to achieve? How can I help people? How do I get more people to this cause, etc., etc., etc. So every single night, or at least most nights, journal on what you did that day, how you can improve, that kind of thing. If I might try and, in the next video, I might put some pictures up of my journal entries. But yeah, that is one thing I will say. Also set goals. So don't set ridiculous goals that are unachievable, but you should set a combination of long-term and short-term goals. So I'll go back to the gym analogy because I think that's the easiest thing to give examples on. Of your long-term goal might be to get in absolutely fantastic shape. Like, you write that down, that's the next layer of your purpose. By the end of the year, maybe you want to be impressed with the physique you have. Obviously, you can't set a very specific goal because you don't understand enough at that point, but you could say, I want to get in fantastic shape by the end of this year. And then your short-term goal might be goals you set every single week. Maybe your short-term goal for this week is I'm going to go to the gym for the first time, and then next week it could be I'm going to go to the gym 2 or 3 times, and the week after I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to watch some videos on improving my exercise, and then I'm going to get a personal trainer, and then I'm going to improve my diet. You set little goals over time, and the number one thing with short-term goals is they're not just goals, they're promises. Make sure you're not breaking these things. So it's better to set less and easier short-term goals and keep your promises than it is to set ridiculously hard ones and break your promises because it's too difficult. So I will say that as well. Make sure you are keeping your promises. That'll build absolutely unshakable confidence if you continually keeping your promises. And yeah, that's one thing I will say. And I'll also say, attack from multiple angles. We already talked about this. When you're journaling, try and find other ways to work on your purpose other than your key task as well. So if it's that gym thing, obviously going to the gym is the first thing, and then you can find all the other angles you can attack it from as well, like consuming gym content, becoming an authority on the topic, improving your diet, blah, blah, blah. There's a million different things you could be doing. And yeah, becoming an authority on the topic that is your current layer of your purpose is a great thing to do. I became an authority. Obviously, I'm not, blowing my own trumpet and saying I'm the most knowledgeable language learner of all time. I'm obviously not. I don't speak 10 languages or anything. I speak 3, with my third language, Russian, being not particularly good, so I wouldn't even say I speak it. I'd say I'm learning it at kind of an intermediate level. And, I know a fair bit in a bunch of different languages, like the basics and stuff. I can read basic French and Spanish, and I can understand Spanish, which I'm very impressed by the way. I started listening to Spanish podcasts recently, but that's enough about my personal life. The point is, you should try and become an authority on the topics you're, becoming better at. So if it's a charitable thing, become an authority on, how that works, how you can recruit people, convince people. Maybe it's social media marketing if it's a charity thing and you're trying to convince people. Maybe become an authority on tax laws so you can pay, as little tax as possible and put as much money as possible into, whatever charity thing it is. I don't understand really how that works because I've never researched it, as you can probably tell. But you get the point. Become an authority on the topic. If it's, a fitness thing, become an absolute authority on that. If it's YouTube, become an authority on all the YouTube metrics and how to make the best content possible, etc. And seek help as well. Try and, you can watch videos on people who are doing really well in the goal you want, and you can talk to people, if you can, that have done that. You'd be surprised if you find, particularly, I'll tell you this as well, if you've watched to the end, you deserve to hear this tip, because this is an absolutely fantastic tip that I've found works a very, very high percentage of the time. So pay attention. This might not work for very, very big creators. Like obviously if it's a fitness YouTuber with 3 million subscribers and you comment asking them, oh, can you give me a hand with this? They might not be able to respond because they're so busy. But I guarantee you, if you're watching someone who is good at the goal that you want to achieve and they've only got, anywhere from 0 subscribers to maybe even like 20 or 30,000, you'd be surprised how nice these people are. Because I know for me, for example, and a bunch of my friends who are, killing it on YouTube and doing well as well, for us, we absolutely love people commenting and asking questions and saying, oh, can you show me this? Or I've made progress in this, what do you think? That kind of thing. We love talking to people. So if you have something that you're trying to get better at and you can find a content creator who is good at it, literally comment and then say, hey, do you want to jump on call with me? Could you give me a hand with this? Can you give me your email? I'll send you a screenshot of this and give me a hand. And you'd be surprised how many people whose videos you watch who are actually, they're not just, people who sit behind a camera or whatever, making videos. They actually do really like helping people. I know that's the case for me. If somebody comments and says, hey, can you give me a hand with this? Can you jump on call with me? I'm not going to charge them money. I'll jump on call and give them a hand because that's the kind of person I am. And that's a lot of the people I associate with are exactly the same. And I know when I was trying to become better with my videos and I'd find someone who was maybe on, 10,000 subscribers, which is about 10 times what I'm on, or not quite, but you know what I mean. And I commented, they absolutely wanted to help me because they enjoyed helping people, just because it was like, you could say it's an ego thing, like you just like being the authority figure, or it's a, just a nice thing, you like helping people. So that's my super secret tip that you get if you watch to the end. Literally find someone who is maybe not that big on YouTube, because you've got a higher chance of actually being able to talk to them. Maybe they've only got a few thousand subscribers, like around the level I am. Just go through YouTube and try and find someone with a smaller following, but make sure they actually do have what you are. They make high quality videos on things you're interested in, and just say, hey bro, is it all good if we jump on call? Can we talk about this? I might need a bit of a hand. Just that kind of thing. Just comment on their videos, send them an email, that kind of thing. And if you do this to a few people, you would be surprised. You will get someone who actually is an authority figure on that topic who actually wants to help you. So that's my bonus tip. Guys, if you watched all the way to the end, you're a bunch of real ones. Good luck in whatever you're working on. Hit the subscribe button. If you need a hand from me, comment below and I'm happy to help you. If you want to jump on call with me, I'm also happy to do that. But thank you for watching. I hope this video helped. Have a good one.